What's going on? Resonance and Zet Chrono and Preston Boyd. We'll see if this is the right spot to do this, because I was looking for a new location that had good quality acoustics and enough internet connection. And the traffic, I don't know. We'll see. Is the traffic bothering any of you quite yet? And then we'll get into this interesting talk. It was actually precursed by a wonderful video that the Awakened Brave did on DMT. It was pretty awesome. So can you all hear me? Is this area good? Because it seems like the internet connection is all right. What's up, TikTok? Can you guys hear the traffic a lot? Because whenever I go to a new place, I want to make sure that if I'm saying something, it's heard well. What up, Alchem? And Alchem, once again, if you didn't hear me yesterday, man, you're a blessing. What a treat. The last thing that you so graciously would it be proliferated to my establishment. What you gifted me is awesome. Really, really, really excellent stuff. One of my favorite things ever, in fact. Next to headband, pretty much my favorite. So, yeah, see, it's really interesting. The last place that I was doing the show from, they just opened up the end of the streetcar line. They just opened up the streetcar again because they were doing work on it, and so now there's all this traffic, so it's kind of loud there. And I figured, let me come to this new little spot where I thought there'd be no traffic, and lo and behold, there seems to be more traffic than I like. It's like this is like a pedestrian street in a college town, and where I'm at is a really interesting intersection, which seems to be a little more going on than I'd like. But so y'all can hear me, and I'll wait a little bit for like a couple more minutes till people show up, because I don't like to repeat myself, and make sure there's a little bit of a crowd here. Yeah, Alchem, too much, and the cookies. When you were saying they were strong, you were not exaggerating. Cookies are ridiculous. What's in those cookies, Alchem? You readjusted my gating mechanisms in my brain with those cookies. Stovilia Olham Elohim Ra. What's up, man? Good to see you. And thank you for the comment earlier. I haven't got back. I don't get back to people too often in the comment section. It's easier to just talk, you know? What up, Damien? Zet Chrono wants to define jawline. Talk more. It will really get these muscles working. Or smile more, I don't know. Bren Zen, what's going on, man? I haven't got back to you either, but thank you for showing up, dude. I'll get back to you on all your comments you made, and I think you sent me something in an email or whatever. I'll get back to you, man. I just infrequently get to the keyboard, you know? Alchem, do you just stay like in the atmosphere? Because and when you say you make cooking oils out of them, at what temperature can't you use? Because I know whenever you're making the oils, you got to keep it below a certain temperature because you'll burn off any of the quality to it, right? So like, is there a temperature that you can't cook at, or are you talking about frying things with it? Is it cooking off any of the alkaloids and all of the good juju goodness in there? And Stovelia, Elohim Ra. That's funny you say human humidity, because of some interesting things that have occurred and some talks that, in fact, where I started this was The Awakened Brave did a show, and I suggest you all go check it out, where he, on camera, smoked like a huge amount of DMT, dimethyltryptamine, and then talked about it afterwards. And it was very interesting, because being a very intense, I wanted to get a little bit into like empathy and sympathy, and maybe how that works, because empathy has to do with feeling, and sympathy has to do with mental, idealized emotions. Sympathy, oh, I'm sympathetic to that. It means you don't really know, but I could understand, I could qualify, I could think about. It has to do with the emotional constructs. Where empathy, where people that are real empaths, you just feel it. You don't ever have to experience the same thing, because you can empathetically feel, literally, which is momentarily, present moment of whatever else anyone's doing. So if I walk into a room and a bunch of people are on different drugs, I could get near one person and I would know what they're on, not just by like watching their behavior, but because I'll feel it. And I could get high, you know. It's like that idea of getting a contact high, like literally being in someone's auric field. You catch their vibes, but you could catch it to such a degree that you share an experience, even if they're the ones using a substance. So very interestingly, I'll try to weave that into this talk a little bit. Dana Johnston. Also use coconut oil, okay. Have you looked into whether using, I'm sure you have, but just a question because it's on here, the different kinds of oils? So you have saturated and unsaturated fats, and depending on what kind of oil you use, you'll collect more of the substance. So it would seem to be that unsaturated fats would be the best because they're unsaturated. So it would, does that make sense? I don't know if you've looked into it. Because I've made oil a couple times, and there is a certain quality to oils that will basically ingest the chemical compounds. That's why some things are alcohol, like mushrooms. You can extract via alcohol, via hot water, and oil. But then there's other things that aren't extractable via certain substrates, meaning oil, hot, or you can burn something off with something too hot, but then oil's not going to work for something else. Interesting, yeah. Stovilla, you said empathy electric. I think empathy has something to do more with magnetic. That's because, think of a feminine. The feminine version of reality is pulling something in. So the magnetic construct of a female is more, women are always more magic, magnetism, all of those kind of words. And they're more empathetic because they're ingesting nature, pulling it in. So I think empathy has more to do with the feminine aspect of magnetism. And the sympathy aspect, I think, is more of an electrical thing. So I think maybe if you looked at it from a sense of like if you play in a band, you play the symphony. So the sympathetic nervous system. So play with those kind of ideas. But I think whenever you're really getting into what is empathy versus sympathy, empathy usually is walking the same path, and sympathy is like you feeling bad for something, but it's like a mental construct. Again, you're thinking about it. When you say you're sympathetic to something, you say, I've never experienced that, but I could understand. I could think about it. It's not a feeling thing. It's a thought thing, and a thought thing is electric, and a thought thing electric is masculine. Thoughts are masculine, electrical, and empathy is feminine, like to pull something in. Yeah, I hear you. Yes, Stovila, I dig it. Dielectricity. Yeah. There's different qualities. There's different qualities to the electrical systems, and the way that motors are made. You can have magnetic motors, electrical motors, and then you have like. Well, let's kind of boil this back into the talk that I want to do before I go on a trail off into the distance on diamagnetics, and that would just get into Dan Winter's work. I think that will give a couple solutions to the ideas of empathy, sympathy, and the way he breaks it down is basically using mathematics to show the rhythm of a heart, the rhythm of things, to implode something, the implosion idea of where is that point of implosion within energy. So the title of this was, or is, I'll probably maintain it, is when is something human, and when does it cease to be human, and what is it? What is this essential quality of humanness? Which I think, interestingly enough, boils into empathy, sympathy, and a few other things. So you look at a child, and most people say that's a child. You don't say that's you don't look at it as a human. When I look at a child, I say that's a small human, and it's a funny little running joke I have with a couple people that look at the small human. And the essence of what does it take to become human, or are you human right when you come out the womb? So if you are, if you take the notes and you just go, okay, as soon as it comes out the womb, it breaches into this arena that we call Earth, this reality, whatever it is, and we say that's human. Everything that they learn beyond there, is it human or is it dehumanizing? Is it inhumane? Is it... Because look at this process. They start to learn a language, they start to go to school systems, they start to do these things that we can find where we have to kind of juggle. Is it human? Is it very human that there's so many inhumane things happening? Is slavery humane? Humans are doing it, yes, or are they not humans? There are so many questions to ask about the at what point. Think of it this way. If I cut my arm off and I put a robotic arm on, this is a different idea, a different style of conceiving of what is the essential human quality to anything. What does a human do? What does it look like? What is its goals, its aspirations? What is its thing? What is a human? And do you, as you get older, become more human or less human? Or is it just all, it just all is? And then we get into, well, is a god human? Is a demigod human? Or is there some sort of value system that changes about people's constructs? At what point am I not a shaman? At what point am I just average Joe? At what point do we level up to different... Now, I don't want to just use different words, but I'm saying literally, is there something else in the capacity for what human is? Is a brand new baby more human than a 10-year-old or a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old? And at what point are we pulling things out of the experience of being human to make someone less and less sympathetic, less and less empathetic, less and less of whatever the essential quality of, say, what does a human do? What do we look like? What do we talk like? What do we smell like? What do we taste like? We can look into the natural environment. We can look into the natural world. And when we say natural world, it means before we did anything to the land, we were aboriginal, we were original, we were native, we were on the land, and we were participating with just like animals. Animals don't do anything to alter the environment to any great degree. So at the point we become alterators, I guess, to change, to alternate, to adjust the physical landscape in front of us, is that point we become human, or do we become godlike, or do we become something beneath that? Because we find so many things in our what we call nature that have been removed from the quality that to me seems to be human, which is empathy, sympathy, these kind of feeling qualities that all of a sudden we look at all these things going on and people have lost. I don't remember what it's like to be 2 years old. I don't remember what it's like to be 5 years old, but there seems to be this training mechanism that we go through these systems that remove pieces, remove ideas of the holistic system of humanness. And so the question is, were we born human? And if we were, then are we still? So we look at things like, I look at the most simple things that, like, what would a human do? A human would fix a problem, right? A human would say, it would seem to me that a human would look at automobiles and how filthy they are, how big they are, how bad gas mileage they get, and try to fix that. It would seem to me that a human would go about creating a better environment. That's what it seems to me. I don't know what that better environment necessarily looks like. I can say, well, certainly it wouldn't look like this 2,000-pound automobile that runs on gasoline that we're sucking up from the ground, that has people enslaved in factories doing all these things that they don't want to do, that's actually extracting and dehumanizing them, which, comes back to what is the human thing to do. Have we lost our way into some abyss of fantasy land that is actually... I can't imagine how many people are living inside of a fantasy world here, of their own doing, of their own liking, of their own choosing. And who is running the show? Are they human? Am I human? Am I running the show? Are you running the show? And we always say that the powers that be, we always put those words out there, and they seem to be, time and time again, when we look at it, these corporate archons, these entities of people that are keeping a dead system alive. And we have all of these dead systems that continue to really, they're literally the cogs in the wheel of everything. The cogs in the wheel of the car that you could look into this back in late 80s, early 1990s. There was a really interesting piece done on, I think it was Mazda. It doesn't matter. It was a car company. And the car company was having problems with, I think it was their brake lines failing, and then they had somebody, so what they could have done is they could have recalled all of the cars, but instead what they did was they had someone figure out whether they would have more lawsuits and how much those lawsuits would be worth and cost for all of the brake lines would fail and all the injuries that they'd have to pay for, these people being injured because of their automobile parts that failed, or if it'd be smarter to actually, would it cost them less money to take that car and recall them all and fix it, which would have cost, let's say, $400 million? Or would it cost less to leave those cars running and do nothing about it because they'd only have $200 million in lawsuits? Came to realize it'd be less if they just let the things break. So we live in this world where the system says, and who is operating the system? The thing is, the system is run by a mindset of people that want money and power. It's not, the system isn't architected by anybody that it seems to have any human qualities, because humans don't seem to, coming out the womb, have a desire to I use this reference to this tribe that you can watch this little documentary on these children, and there's these American anthropologists go over there and they give these kids they're like, okay, here's a bag of treats, and I'm gonna put them over there, and you're all gonna race to it, and whoever gets there first can have all the treats. And they realize that when the kids start going there, they grab hands and they all get there at the same time, and they realize, like, well, why would they do that? And the answer from the children was, well, I wouldn't be happy if my family and friends couldn't be happy. But yet, that is the truth. But yet, society, whatever's built, whoever's doing this, however it happens in these corporations, says, no, you drive that car, we don't give a fuck if you get in an accident. So where's the humanness in that? It doesn't seem to be a human-like quality. It seems to be some pernicious, it's not an apathy. It's not an ambivalence. It's something even deeper than that. That there's nothing but red and black on a paper, and even it's even before that. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's going to cost a little less money. So we live in this. Humanness is not profitable, but humans are prophets. If you think about what a prophet is, to predict the future, and we're all prophets, but it's not profitable in the sense of, I don't know why the word albacoring comes to mind. I don't know why, I just thought it was a funny word. It's not in, we say, what is the human quality? Back to this. And a lot of what we have here on this planet and wherever we are is learned behaviors that are not human-like. Everything that we do is not human-like. Why are more people right-handed? Why are less people left-handed? That's not a natural order of things. It's because of the instrument of using a pen that we put in our hand and write like this to graph something because of language. So we've subjugated ourselves to language, but language is the primordial thing of humanness that has nothing to do with written language. It has nothing to do with language at all. It has to do with empathy. So we've missed the entire thing. So we find everything that has to do with writing with this construct. Like, why is it that anybody would be right-footed or left-footed, or to play a game with one hand? You would never be one-hand dominant. It doesn't work that way, because your brain would be balanced and you use both hands to do whatever you need to do. If you worked in nature, if you were in nature, you'd be part of the qualities of, a boulder would be the way the boulder is, and you'd go up one side of it or the other, and you'd have to use, the qualities of what it requires to be human, like, are unsatisfactory in a system where there's trains, which created clocks. The reason you have time is because of those things. There was no such thing as a watch. There was no such thing as what time something was going to happen. It didn't exist until the trains existed. That's where our idea of when something should happen, how it should happen, because of goods and services, which are all predicated upon language and saying, hey, this must happen now here with this way. It became an order that man hoped to seek out of the unspeakable universe, which is so again, I don't necessarily know that there's a solution or a non-solution to what it is. But if I go a little deeper of folding these things on top of each other, where this started was the DMT trip and empathy. The DMT trip that the Awakened Brave did on film, and that I suggest you all go watch. He just did it like yesterday. It was awesome. And I've shamanically guided people with different elements, not DMT, but similar things. And so there's this understanding of what he tries to explain, where he says, I don't think anyone could explain it. But I was very familiar with the diviner sage, Salvia Divornium. and how that collapsed and showed time, and is the reason to some degree how I can explain reality and how manifestation occurs, and where we are in this. It folds over. That's what time is. It just keeps folding upon itself and looping back in like a fountain, that time, and where is it? We're right in the middle, thinking something to manifest, to reseed itself, just like a tree. So explaining that, there was a really interesting dynamic when he was speaking about it, of like being in that unspeakable thing, where he said, this was a place that was so familiar, but you wouldn't want to be there because it was so overwhelming. You didn't have a body to be able to participate in the. Well, he didn't say this exactly, but I'm giving you like maybe what he was trying to say is that when you don't have a body to experience the reality that you put into this, like when you're dreaming and you're creating something, you have that deja vu when you're in this waking life, which is right here. There's a way of understanding what time might be, where did time come from, and what your body has to do with creating time, and even reverse aging, etc. Because there's this concept of, as something gets older, it looks this way, it becomes decayed. But if you really knew time, it doesn't necessarily have to decay. But that's like, I think, a furthering question of what is it to be human, what is it to be a demigod, what is it to be a god, what is it to be alive, living, smelling, breathing, and then get out of body, go find the machine elves, go do a heroic dose of something, whatever substance it might be, maybe oxygen, maybe a lack of oxygen, I don't know. So yeah, I'm gonna scroll through and see what you all had to say. Hope you enjoyed the little journey, and we'll go a little farther after this. And Justin saying, is everyone born with empathy and sympathy and then it's hijacked? Yes. I hope, hopefully, everything I said answered that. But yeah, that's what happens. You're born with the child is born without language, and really, the way that they obtain something is through their system. It just already is. I mean, yeah, you have a mother, you have the hopefully a mother and a father figure, but your vibration and what you're putting out, you obtain. There's no desire for a child, but if it wants something, it wants milk, it wants this, it interacts with reality the way that is human. The noises and sounds it makes are essentially human. Then beyond that, we learn this set of codes and constructs that become something that looks like it, but it's really not. We call it language. And the language, why is it that I'm I don't know how many years old, but I have despite my large thesaurus-like mind of being able to communicate with people in way that I listen, the way that I learn, the way that I speak, difficulty. It's always a challenge in communicating. How did we somehow make the system more difficult? Why are we at a point where it's 2018 and there apparently are still wars going on? There are people that are hungry. There are people that aren't getting fed. It seems to be a lack of communication. Where does it come from? Who injected that lack of communication? And it has something to do with the fact that we're using a clunky-ass language to try to speak the unspeakable. Yeah, TikTok, human is an expression of hues, and a couple funny things happened today, synchronistically and mystically, and including the word color. The last thing I was listening to before this, there was an album called When I'm Bored, I Change Colors. Yeah, Justin's saying it's humane to make choices, or it's human to make choices. Good or bad, I guess. Harmony. Well, I mean, that gets farther into. I was looking at this picture of the Dalai Lama. Like, think about, did this dude ever do any drugs? Did the Dalai Lama do mushrooms? Did he smoke weed? What does he eat? Does he have sex with women? Does he have sex with men? What does he do? Like, what is his, and why is it a dude? Why is there no Dalai Lama S? Why is there no woman being that? What the fuck's going on there? See, this is more into like, well, who are these people? What are they doing? And what is their, what is the human quality of the Dalai Lama? If everybody acted like the Dalai Lama, would life be life? I don't know who the fuck that dude is. But people are like, oh, there he is, the Dalai Lama. And this is just a little spin-off of yesterday's talk about Stephen Hawking, excuse me. So, yeah, I don't. To human is to color, I guess, to add color to things. Babies are more human than us, so there goes Zet Chrono. So what is it that was extracted or taken away from us? What's up, Mr. Stockholm? What's up, Tom Corner? Good to see you. Yeah, well, Justin's saying the aboriginal abs are the muscle in the stomach, right? Ab is the womb, original womb, men. Abdomen, yeah. Abdominion. There is that, and there's also, get into the AB. I did one called the Aboriginals and the AB, maybe like 8 months ago. Check that out. What up, Radical Thought? Awesome. Looping the waters, man. What up, Dana Johnston? Wow. Turtles. Interesting. Turtles are very significant. Interesting. How recent was that? Because I was just watching. I was looking at a map about how the Americas look like a giant turtle swimming in the ocean, and the ancient, is it the Aztecs, believed that we're on the back of a turtle swimming through a giant ocean. And what, people think that's an idea of like we're in outer space flying through the universe on the back of a turtle. But in fact, what they were seeing was that they got out of body and observed the shape of North and South America to be like a turtle. The better name would be I can't remember the specific Tortuga, the Tortuga, and which is related to the Mayans. Look into the Mayan cosmology and Tortugas, and the way that they think about, like, so this giant ocean is literally around North America and South America. Justin saying Matthew Silver has learned to stay 5 years old. Yeah, to a degree. I watched that dude and I'm like, I've never met him, but there's something a little, I don't know. Is it helpful? Is it weird? Is it strange? I don't know. Is he more helping or harming the argument for humans to? I don't know, man. Is he an actor completely? Is he somebody else when he's not doing his skit? Is he, do as he likes? I think he's funny. I'd vibe with the dude, but if he was always doing that with no construct or some sort of, like, he just seems to be like, if I just take a bunch of LSD today, I can, which is fine, but do you always want to be 5 years old? Does he really see the world like that, or is he just overcoming the insanity of being in New York motherfucking city? This goes in a couple videos ago. I was talking about the response mechanism to how absurd society is acting like you have, or being what is not I'm not saying insane, but having some of the qualities of being on the spectrum. What would your response to New York City be? To just walk in an orderly line? Like, he is the perfect antithesis to what New York City is. New York City is left and right in order, straight up and down, masculine. He's like a woman, baby, child, misfit, something, right? So he's like, his art is to be the opposing force to what the cityscape is. Now, do I think that's the answer? Not necessarily. I think it's funny and cute and great and whatever. But whenever there's a thesis, there's an antithesis or an antithesis, and the only way that you like get out of the whole thing is to have no antithesis to anyone's thesis, because that's who cares? Everyone has I walk up and down the street, everyone has a thesis. This business has a thesis. They have a thesis. What am I going to stand out front and just say, fuck your thesis? That's what people do, instead of having their own thesis, which comes out of theory or theory, meaning the light, or the water. Or the water, I said it right the first time. Okay, memory. So the ISIS, imagine what ISIS is. Something to do with moon, which is insanity. So, I'm not going to go too far with that. Zen, maybe it's a perspective of definition, one subjective idea, which is then altered through or by the surrounding perceptions molding the subject into the mind. I mean, yeah. Sure. Yes. Oh, yeah, Brent. Yeah, man, that's a great book. Everything John Tyler Gatto does. If you ever watch the 6-hour, who did he do the show with? Tragedy and Hope magazine. It's an online Tragedy and Hope. Look up the 6-hour Everything I Know with John Tyler Gatto. It's pretty amazing. But from his books, Dumbing Us Down is magical. What up, Drew? Good to see you, man. I seen you hit me the other day. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you yet, man. I'll try to get at that today, man. I seen you ask me about something about herbs, and I just didn't really have on the top of my head an herbs to give you. So if you be a little more specific, I'll get back to you on that, or even ask me now. Zach Chrono, what causes envy? Oh man, I guess not. Someone having something you don't have. I mean, why? Because you don't think you can obtain it? Not feeling separate from the universe? Envy and jealousy are very similar, but not exactly the same. I think it's I think it's different for most people, but boiling something down. If we boil everything down to the most simple complex in the universe, it's the acquisition of power. How do I obtain power? Power gives you a way to mold the universe. Now, we can look all around us and see the masculine dominant power principle everywhere you look. You can see the feminine power principle too. It's slightly in different places, but every strong king, there's the queen standing whispering in his ear, and there's also the joker, the one that you don't. There's these things going on. So where was I here? I guess I just missed that. Okay. So I just lost my train of thought there. Sorry, because a bunch of chaos happening in front of me. Oh yeah, I was going. I'm sorry. There we go. I was going on about the acquisition of power. Everything we do in life is because powerlessness is not fun. Meaning that I have no control over any situation. Because everyone's been in that where the repercussions of having no control of a situation. Like, try driving down the street and let go of your steering wheel. Okay, Jesus, take the wheel. Have fun with that. See that this is this constant diatribe people have. Like you can't. You have this level of saying, hey, I desire something, and then let the universe create it for you, and then obtain said event, object, whatever. But then there's also this day-to-day practice of, while I'm doing something, like walking through the environment, which is a cityscape, to somehow... Yeah, man.
We're not supposed to have alcohol or
Oh, sure, man. Of course. What if I say it's apple juice? Well, apparently, I'm gonna finish my beer here. If I just put it in this cup, you won't know it exists. Look at that. See? So right as I'm talking about control, go like that. Alright, so we're at timing. So as you're walking down the street, as you're driving your car, you don't just go, oh, I don't want any power, I don't want any control, I don't want to judge the situation. Well, then let go of your steering wheel. And watch how fast you get in an accident and you pay the consequences for not having any power in this reality. But a lot of people like to play that game where they don't accept that there is a level of degree of control and power that you have to have in this reality. Why? I have control to do this with my hands, right? I'm choosing to do that with my hand. I have power and control to do that with my hands. But these larger ideas and constructs, that's leaving it up to the archons, the demigods, and the energies in the world, which is fine and dandy, and that's how we play with the universe. But certainly when we get the ball to play with, we bounce it and we play with it. We have control over the ball. We have control over how I design this table, how I create whatever I am. So unless someone's saying, oh, I'm just going to let the universe do it, but then they want to paint a picture, well, you have too much control? Were you trying to control something? Yeah. Oh, Branzan, you did. I'm assuming you're talking about DMT. Dong Cheeto, that was crazy. The Emerald Tablets. I've read those. I didn't have that response, but they were pretty intense, yeah. Yeah, Branzan, hue does mean color, so. Hi, puppy. I don't know anything about a pet ladybug flying away with the dream world. Are slugs homeless snails? I think they're just having an adventure, maybe. I think they're houseless snails, not homeless. Their home is the universe, their house is their show. Is that chrono? Yeah, I think it would. I think by changing your perception of what you think time is, you would alter all sorts of things. I've made many videos on that, and in fact, making sigils and how the Mayan calendar worked versus our calendar. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I'll try to search that out and maybe redub it for you. But certainly, changing your perception of time will change what it is. Because again, the cell of the body is immortal, so the only reason we age to 72 years is because we have a belief system in a calendar that is based upon a Venusian Venus construct that cuts 360 degrees in a circle into 72 years. So you take 360 degrees, you put a 5-pointed star in it, which is our body, and it divides it up to 72 degrees in each angle. 72 times 5, which is this pentagram, which is our body, gives us 72 years. But there aren't 360 degrees in a circle. There are not 360 degrees in a circle. There are 0. We choose to use 360 degrees. You could easily call it 100 degrees. Call it 1,000 degrees. It's only it's arbitrary definition of how many angles do you want in there? They said 360 plus the 5 for Venus, which give you 365 days. So yeah, you would change it. Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, I mean, see, the degree and influence has to do with control of space and time and your perception of how how far is that away? Meaning, is it a distance away or is it a time away, what you consider time? And so how much energy do you have in going to how quickly would I like my desired results of whatever it is? Because life is always about this moment and then the next. Here I am in the present moment, it's all that exists, but apparently there's going to be another moment happening when this person walks by me, right? They're not walking by me yet, but they're going to be. So I can use a little bit of an idea. Okay, I don't know what caused that to happen. Maybe it was my mind, maybe it was their mind, maybe it was some universal thing, but unless there's this present moment, and there's this one, and we categorize them in a linear construct, which isn't at all right, but we do live in that space. We watch people get older. We watch an event from start to finish. You don't know who's going to win the game until it's done, so there is that play on time and space. Preston, I've been to Chicago. It's a decent place, man. But no, I'm not interested in the cold weather. It's if there's something human about this planet where we're supposed to live, it's we're supposed to be in places where we're collecting sunshine from the highest form of energy. We're supposed to get our melanation from the sunshine. Humans are not supposed to be living in cold weather. Just not supposed to be. If there is some sort of truth, that's one of the higher truths. Well, thank you, Stovilla. I appreciate that, man. So we need more people like Zen. Everyone throw this man some donations. I agree with his comment here. And Preston boy, the circle is endless. And that's why we like to chop it up so we can experience time. We take ourselves out of that endless space and we put ourselves encapsulated inside of a spacesuit that gives us a little bit of angular time. Well, Zach Chrono, I appreciate that, man. So check it out, y'all. I don't wanna bother this business owner too much. I apparently have caused him chaos in his mind about my beer here. So I'm gonna move on to a new location and I'm gonna get back to you guys. Hopefully you all enjoyed the show, and we'll dig in a little more. And as always, if you've enjoyed anything I've said, feel free to donate some currency to me to keep me fed with I don't know, beer, wine, liquor, food, enjoyment, a roof over my head, all these things, and a computer, and internet, so I can talk to all you. So yeah, I'll be back on here pretty soon. I'm gonna try to find a new location where I get good internet and I can drink a beer out front. So, cool, guys.